हेतुफलाश्रयालम्भनैः सङ्गृहीति तत्त्वादेशामभावे तद्भावः. This sutra explains that impressions continue to exist because they are sustained by four factors: causes, the results they bring, their basis, and the environment or support. If any of these sustaining factors are removed, the impressions will no longer exist. In other words, without the right conditions, impressions cannot continue. In short, impressions are maintained by causes, results, and the right conditions. When these factors are no longer present, the impressions also vanish. Atita-anagatam swarupatah adhva-bhedat dharmanam. This sutra explains that the past and future are real because they exist in their true essence, even though we may not perceive them directly. The changes we experience over time are due to the variations in the qualities or states that evolve along different paths. These qualities shape our experience of time, but the essence remains constant. In short, the past and future exist in their own true form. Changes we see over time come from the way qualities shift and follow different paths, though their essence remains unchanged. Te vyakta sukshma gunatmanaha. This sutra explains that the past and future can be either visible and clear or hidden and subtle. This depends on the three gunas: sattva, rajas, and tamas. Depending on the influence of these qualities, certain aspects of reality become apparent, while others remain unseen or subtle. In short, the past and future can be clear or hidden depending on how the natural abilities are at play. These qualities determine what is visible and what remains subtle. Parinamaikatvad vastu tattvam. This sutra explains that the true nature of an object is determined by its consistent and unified transformation. Though an object may change over time, its essence remains constant throughout these changes. The singularity in the process of change is what defines the reality and the truth of the object. In short, the true nature of any object remains the same, even as it undergoes different changes. Its consistent transformation shows its reality. Vastu samye chitta bhedat tayor vibhaktah panthaha. This sutra explains that even when an object is the same, it is perceived differently by different minds. Each person has a unique mental filter based on their experiences, beliefs, and thoughts, which causes them to view the same object in distinct ways. The object's reality remains the same, but the paths of perception differ due to variations in the mind. In short, while the object is the same, different minds perceive it in their own unique way, showing that perception varies from person to person based on their mental state. Na chaika tantram vastu tada pramanakam tada kim syat. This sutra explains that the existence of an object is not dependent on just one's mind's perception. The object remains real even if a particular mind does not perceive it. Reality is not controlled by individual perception. Just because one mind doesn't recognize something, it doesn't cease to exist. In short, objects exist independently of individual perception. If one person doesn't see it, the object still remains real, proving that reality isn't shaped by a single mind's view. Taduparagapekshitva chittasya vastu Khyatibharedwaj. This sutra explains that the mind perceives an object based on how it is influenced or colored by that object. If the mind is focused and receptive, the object becomes known. If the mind is distracted or not tuned to the object, it remains unknown. Perception depends on the interaction between the mind and the object. In short, whether an object is known or unknown depends on how the mind is affected by it. If the mind is focused, the object becomes clear. If not, it remains hidden. Sada gyataschitta vrittayastat prabhuv purushasya parinamitvat. This sutra explains that the fluctuations of the mind are always known to the Purusha, the true self or consciousness. Unlike the mind, which constantly changes, the Purusha is unchanging. Since the Purusha is constant and unaffected, it can always observe and be aware of the mind's activities. In short, the true self or Purusha always knows the mind's activities because, unlike the mind, it never changes. The Purusha acts as a steady observer of the mind's fluctuations.
न तत् स्वाभासं दृश्यत्वात्.
This sutra explains that the mind cannot perceive itself. Like other objects, it is something that can be observed, but it cannot be both the observer and the observed at the same time. The mind needs an external source of awareness, which is the Purusha, to be understood. Since the mind is an object, it depends on the unchanging Purusha to illuminate it. In short, the mind cannot know itself because it is an object of observation. It requires the true self or the Purusha to be aware of its activities, much like a lamp needs light to be seen.
एकसमये चोभयानवधारणम्.
This sutra explains that the mind cannot simultaneously perceive itself and an external object. When the mind is focused on an object, it loses awareness of itself. Similarly, if the mind tries to observe itself, it cannot fully grasp the external object. The mind's attention can only be on one thing at a time, either inward or outward. In short, the mind can't focus on itself and an external object at the same time. It can only be aware of one at any given moment, either looking outward or reflecting inward. Thank you.